Hey, what up? It's Brad, and I'm back with law number 4 of the 48 Laws of Power. I've been super excited about this one, and I started to actually shoot this last night in my apartment in Tampa, and the camera cut off in the middle of it. It was like 1 in the morning. I was tired. I was like, you know what? I'm going to bed. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow refreshed, and we're gonna bang this video out. So here I am. We're ready to go over it. And I'm actually also really glad that I waited to do this, because I waited until I got a little bit salty, because this law number 4, is something that gets me heated. When I see people not obeying this law, what I see is I see people with awesome potential to be what I would think of a structure, someone with structural integrity, someone who has a rigid personality with clear boundaries of what they want and do not want, and someone that people should respect. And I see them disobey this law and become these flimsy, disgusting, amorphous blobs. In comparison to the people who they should be, what they are acting like is disgusting to me. It makes me horrendously offended, and I don't even want to think about it. So that said, law number 4, always say less than necessary, okay? This is so critical to any endeavor you want to do in life, just in general, okay? And so why is that? Why, you see people get up on TV and they do these long, eloquent speeches, and it's like, oh, they have so much to say, blah, blah, blah. That seems so admirable. But if you really get down to it, the people who are powerful, remember, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about power. The people who are powerful and exert influence over other people do not feel the need to communicate more than the bottom line of what they're trying to say, okay? The most powerful people use the least amount of words because they're being effective in their communication. They're not pandering. They're not second guessing themselves as they're talking. They're not using filler words because they don't feel the need to fill space because they're nervous about it, okay? Powerful people do just what they have to do, okay? That's all they do. And so what you see is people who adopt this it's not necessarily because they're powerful people straight away, but what you see is when a person adopts this method of communication in being direct, in communicating exactly what they have to say without having to dance around it and beat around the bush, so to speak, they start accumulating more power. You don't have to already be a president or something just to communicate in a clear way and to say no more than is necessary. You don't have to have power already to do that. But if you adopt that method of communication, you will see your power start to grow and your personal power. And again, just as a reminder, this is not about being win-lose. This is not about gaining power so you can lord it over people or you be like a puppeteer. It's not about that. It's about having power so that you can create the life that you want to live. That's why I love this stuff, is I'm obsessed with creating the life that I want to live for myself. And so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that point, as long as it's not win-lose. That's literally my only rule. The only thing I will not do is something that's win-lose. If it's win-win and I can justify it as it's benefiting somebody else, not in a weird like Nazi Germany kind of way, but more of a real authentic way, I'll do anything. I don't care what it makes me look like. I don't care what people think of me. If it's win-win and it's what I want in my life, or if it's at least like a win for me and it's not really affecting anyone else, it's done. It's done, okay? So back to the law. Always say less than necessary. In the book, the author Robert Greene gives some examples of people who talk themselves out of power. And I love that expression. He doesn't use that specifically in the book, but that's one that I love. People talk themselves out of powerful positions. And the way I like to think about this is negotiating, okay? Or poker, for example. But negotiating specifically, when you're negotiating with someone, when you are trying to get the lowest, say you're, I'm looking at a truck, say you're looking to buy a new vehicle, okay? When you walk into the car dealership, let's say it's an unlisted price, it's just a truck, it's just, F-150, whatever, 2016, loaded 4x4, blah, blah, blah. You walk up and if you say, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for that truck, you already have put yourself in a disadvantageous position. What needs to happen, and this is actually, we should throw in a clip of Wolf of Wall Street here, whoever talks first loses in a negotiation. And I know this sounds win-lose, but what it displays is it's actually a status dynamic, and the person with the most amount of status, also known as power or ability to influence others, will wait to communicate until they see the other person's position, because they don't feel the need. Remember what I said about not needing to fill the gaps in conversation because they're nervous about it? A person of power, doesn't feel the need to pander to the other person. So they'll wait, they'll just sit back and be like, how much do you want for the truck? And then the other person will say, well, make me an offer. And then the person will say, I wouldn't even know where to start. You got to give me a starting point. What were you thinking for it? And if you've ever done this in a negotiation, you know how effective this is. Whenever you wait and whenever you take the position of, I could take it or leave it, you have the power. And it's because what you're doing is you're creating a vacuum. That's another thing that this law is about. It's about creating a conversational vacuum that allows the other person to fill it. It actually goes back to the law of allowing. By not filling the voids in your conversation, you allow the other person to do it, which inevitably makes them actually enjoy being around you more. That's the thing about all of this is people want to be around other people who are of high status or of power. Nobody really wants to be around the person who is just kind of like flimsy and doesn't have structural integrity. People want to be around the business person who's getting results. People want to be around the influencer who is loved by the masses. People want to be around that, just that really cool person who, they really could take it or leave it. The party goes with them wherever they go. That's what this is about. And so an example that the author gives in the book is Coriolanus. I just listened to it on the drive into work today, so I'm thinking about it in my mind. And Coriolanus was a Roman general, and he had countless battlefield victories, blah, blah, blah. He was loved by the people, but the reason he was loved by the people is not because the people knew him personally. He was actually loved by the people because all they ever heard was stories about him. And so those stories and him not filling the vacuum between reality and what those people thought about him allowed him to build this persona of, I'm this awesome dude, you guys look up to me, blah, blah, blah. So Coriolanus runs for, I believe it's Emperor of Rome, or whatever the Romans had as a leader. He runs for that office, right? And so he kills it. He goes and he gives this impassioned speech. He shows all his battle scars and whatever. He doesn't really, he's not doing much. He's just allowing people to come to him to some extent. And then he opens his mouth. And if you've done this, I'm sure you can relate to this. He opens his mouth and immediately starts fucking it up. He opens his mouth and starts giving this speech about how he's so great and how he's better than other people and how the common folk are just trash and how I think it's the patricians or something like that. That's a good vocab word. The patricians were the best and how they deserve to rule Rome or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he opens his mouth and he fucks it up. How many times have you done that? To where you're in a great position and then you keep talking and then you talk a little more and then the person doesn't say anything and you're like, oh God, wait, did I say the wrong thing? And then you talk more and you are digging yourself into a hole that you will never come out of within that relationship. Don't do that. Coriolanus winds up actually, funny enough, he winds up not winning the election. And then he winds up actually coming back later and going through, basically causing a grain strike. And after the end of the grain strike, what happens is he actually gets voted to be banished from the city, and they actually vote to throw him over some rock or something like that. And then he winds up getting banished from Rome, never to be seen again. So that's the story of Coriolanus that the author, Robert Greene, gives in the book. And so the way that ties in is when you're in a situation where you want something to happen, don't talk yourself out of letting that thing happen. Most people, if you're a win-win person and you're setting up win-win scenarios, most people are gonna wanna go along with the win-win scenarios. If they're genuinely win-win, don't talk yourself, don't run your mouth and ruin a good thing for yourself. This comes back to the law of allowing that I talked about in the last vid. Practice the art, and it's not even a law, the art. Practice the art of allowing. Allow good things to happen for you, and they just kind of will. It's really that easy. And that seems like, oh, is it really that simple to just not talk and allow other people to fill in the void? Yes, it's really that easy. It's actually that simple. So that, on taking my own advice here, that's the fourth law. Never say more than necessary. I hope you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. If you're not, I would really encourage you to. The next, I mean, we're on law number 4, we got 44 to go, okay? They're getting better and better. We're going outside. The video quality is getting better. Apollo's doing the blur thing in the background. It's gonna be sick. The rest of them are, he's got his thumb up in the background. If you're not already subscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when I put out new ones. And then also follow my Instagram at Tampa Brad. I post about like these laws and stuff because I'm always rereading these books over and over again. So whenever something pops into mind or I have an experience that lines up with one of the principles, I just real quick pull out my phone, do an Instagram story, and then shoot it out, you know, because it's all about bringing value to you, okay? It's about bringing you value. That's why you should subscribe. That's why you should follow me on Instagram. Don't do it for me. It's not for my vanity. It's for you, okay? I'll see you in the next vid. Law number 5 is coming up. Talk to you very soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.